I said no. I said, no, I don't want a C-section. I said, absolutely not. I said, I'm 6'7" meters dilated. And I think the hardest part for me was that they wanted me to make a decision like that.
SKYLAR WATSON-STEPHERSON says that her baby's birth seemed to be going well, and then the bottom fell out.
Now that's when the first time mom learned she'd need a C-section or a surgical delivery. Fox Medical Team's Beth Galvin joins us with her story.
And Tanae and Tom, this storyline is pretty familiar to a lot of women. A new study shows that C-section births have doubled worldwide since the year 2000. And here in the U.S., about 32% of births, or 1 in 3, are C-sections. And that's far above what researchers say is the 10 to 15% considered medically necessary. Well, WATSON-STEPHERSON agrees that she needed a C-section, an emergency C-section, but she says it's still hard to accept even 4 months later.
She's just a chill baby. She smiles all the time.
But SKYLAR WATSON-STEPHERSON says her daughter Stone's birth didn't go the way she'd planned.
I felt guilty. You know, I tried to do all the right things, like, you know, I exercised until I was 38 weeks. I ate right.
The 36-year-old first-time mom made it to 40 weeks, and at first at the hospital, things seemed to be going well.
My midwife came in and she said, oh, you're looking good at 6'7" centimeters. And then literally like an hour later, she came in, well, the doctor looked at your case and the baby is distressed.
ALEXIS DUNN, WATSON-STEPHERSON's certified nurse midwife and an assistant research professor at Emory's Woodruff School of Nursing, says because the baby was showing signs of heart problems, they had to go with a C-section.
Sometimes when you've done it for a while, you get a feeling of kind of how it's going to go, right? You can see signs that this is probably going to go bad. So rather than wait till it goes bad, they might go ahead and do it.
I think the hardest part for me was that they wanted me to make a decision like that. And my midwife, thank God for her, because she saw how upset and distressed I was. So she said, you know what, everyone just give her a minute. Can everyone just leave the room?
WATSON-STEPHERSON chose to go ahead with a C-section delivery. And Dunn says women should ask their providers beforehand how they would handle a complication like this.
But I think if women want to avoid C-sections, one, you have to realize sometimes they're not avoidable, sometimes they're needed.
Yet 1 in 3 births in the U.S. is by C-section, and Dunn says that's high and likely driven in part by the threat of lawsuits down the road.
You have a bad outcome and you have a vaginal birth, the question could then be, well, why didn't you do a C-section? So I think sometimes there's a little bit of pressure on some providers.
Yet surgical delivery comes with risks too, and pain.
It's just so hard to come home with a new baby and then you've had this major surgery and like you're sore, you can't even climb steps.
4 months after Stone's birth,
she's doing excellent.
But SKYLAR WATSON-STEPHERSON can't help but wonder, what if?
I would be remiss to say that my care wasn't superb, because it was. I think going into it this time, I probably would do a little bit more research, maybe try some holistic approaches.
And the research in this study found that 60% of nations perform too many C-sections, 25% too few, and they found there's a big gap between the richer and the poorer countries, also public and private health systems in countries, and between different geographical regions. Tom and Tanae?
All right. Thanks so much, Beth.
Thank you, Beth.